Hey everybody, it's Norm from Tested, and today I got another model kit build for you today. This is, of course, an Ornithopter from the movie Dune. It's a Harkonnen version of the Ornithopter, and this model kit is a snap fit kit made by Meng Models, M-E-N-G. I've never actually built one of their kits before. It is snap fit, which means it's super easy to put together, no glue required. All you need is a pair of nippers, maybe an X-Acto blade to clean up some edges, and some fine sandpaper or a sanding stick. But the build of this took about 2 hours to assemble all the parts. Everything came together very tightly. If you clean up the seams, you don't see any of those sprue marks. And the model itself at 1/72 scale is beautiful. We'll have links to where you can find the Harkonnen version and the Atreides version of the Ornithopter in the description and comments, but keep in mind if you're looking for it online, there are 2 scales. There's a smaller version that Meng Models released. This is the larger one at 1/72 scale. And I did all the assembly beforehand, got through it quick because there's nothing much to it. It's very simple to do. Again, a 2-hour build. Something I really liked in putting this together is all the articulation and the display options. Not only do you have it on a stand, like in this flying mode, you get 2 versions of the landing gear. So you can also have this on your tabletop with the landing ramp deployed as well. The wings, of course, all articulate. So not only do the 6 wings here on the Harkonnen version fan out, it's a massive wingspan, but there also is a mechanism on the inside that allows them to pivot up and down. And the wings are locked in together, geared together, so that they do move in lockstep. So lots of display options. One of the reasons I did this assembly part off camera is because I want to focus on my favorite part of this, which is going to be the painting and finishing part. Now, out of the box, the paint finish, the plastic color does look pretty good. I think it's fine to display on its own without paint. But I chose a couple different base coats to just give it my own take on it. Went with a gunmetal for the wings and for the hardware, the landing gear, the armaments, so just a Tamiya gunmetal. And then for the main body, which is brown in the plastic, I went for a little more of a green tint. If you look at some of the concept art for the Ornithopters done by concept designer George Hull, who actually did the box cover art, or at least Meng Models chose his art for the box covers for their models. Some of his original concept art had the Ornithopters a little more with a greenish tint, a little more like a militaristic style. So that's what I went with. And for that, I tried this new Vallejo hobby paint, new for me at least. Typically I go with 100 milliliter small Tamiya rattle cans, but this one, 4 times the capacity, went on super nicely. Real thin coats, dried real fast, and I'm gonna be looking into more of these for future model builds. But next up, if this looks a little maybe flat and maybe a little too bright for the grittiness and dirtiness of the Harkonnen or the Arrakis sandy world of Dune, that's because we haven't done the favorite part, my favorite part of these builds, which is the weathering. So we're gonna start with a black wash, a brown wash, and then dive deep into a new weathering compound that I haven't used before. Again, you guys are familiar with, Tamiya Weathering Master. So let's get these brushes dirty and get this model grimed up. Okay, so the wash is done, and I'm gonna be honest, I am much happier with how the Ornithopter looks now after applying some acrylics and some oil paints. Frankly, I was uncertain about the paint color choices I had for the base coats, that kind of olive color for the body, and even the gunmetal for the metallic parts. I thought maybe it was a little too silver. The body was maybe a little bit too green, but all is corrected with a healthy application of just some burnt umber and some matte black acrylics, and really the oil paints are what tied it all together. My next step, and really the core of what I wanted to do here, was experiment with this finishing pass, the weathering pass. And this is Tamiya Weathering Master. It's been used for a long time, for over a decade now, I think, in the Gundam building community. And I've only started using it with my own model kit builds. So it kind of looks like a little makeup kit, and honestly, that's kind of what it is. In the past, we've used things like cinnamon or Fuller's Earth to create the dust and rust for a model kit, and this does effectively similar to that, but there's a little bit of a waxy backing to this powder as well that helps it better adhere to the models before we do a final clear coat on top. So when we pop this open, I have version A and version B. They're in little palettes of 3 colors apiece. I believe there's a whole set. This one, version A, is sand, light sand, and mud. Seems pretty appropriate for Arrakis. And you pop it open, 3 tones of colors here. It comes with a little tool. So on one end, you have almost like a makeup brush. And the other end, it's more of a sponge. The sponge is supposed to be used for smearing some of this, maybe on like the wheel wells or the wheels, the tires of a tank you might be building, or the brush to really get into some of the nooks and crannies to make it look like sand has settled into place, or snow or rust, depending on the color you're using. I'll be using a combination of sand, light sand, and mud. I also got, for version B, snow, soot, and rust. I think soot is the one I might be pushing into some of these crevices as well. The tools are kind of small, and they only include 1 per palette. So I have some brushes, have some makeup applicators that Kate Sabaker told me about, and also just as a makeup sponge you can also use and reuse. You can wash these or cut them to size to use for different pieces. So let's give you a closer look and start with the weathering pass. Okay, so this is our starting point. And one of my goals with the wash was just to, one, of course, get into all the recesses and panel lines, but also to change the tint of everything, darken the places so that this final weathering pass has some contrast. So I'm gonna start with the foam side, and I've scraped a little bit of, here's that sand, you can see it on the foam, and we're gonna try some smearing on the bottom part here. So you can see that's a little bit of a smear. So we're lightening up. You can see it's very light right there. You can use your finger to move it around. But already you can see how much it looks like sand is now sitting on that spot. Now, if I go with the brush, let's see what happens. See, the brush can pick up some, and let's try just brushing here. Ah, there it goes. You can see it's present, but a different effect. That's the foam for smearing, lightens everything up, has a little bit of that subtle dimensionality of like of sand or powder, and then here is it being brushed. And notice I went straight for the areas that I did the black wash on, because that's where I'm going to find the most contrast. I think I'm going to start with foam across the whole thing. Maybe I'll go with a little bit of that light sand as well, and see what happens if I get some light sand around some of these areas. Where is sand going to build up? And then spread across the entire build, entire model, and then go with a second pass of getting the brush on and brushing some of those colors on here. Oh, this is very exciting. Already you can see some differences. A lot of grease, a lot of heavy soot, And then Arrakis. It's going to be a very heavy coat. One of the fun things about this project is the weathering. Yeah, you have to have some motivation behind it. Like, this thing's gonna be flying forward, so maybe the sand piles up in a certain place. But in terms of where sand is gonna be, it's gonna be everywhere. The sand gets everywhere. It's flying through sandstorms. Already I'm having to choose whether I want this more orangey sand or more of the lighter white sand. I'm gonna start with the orangey sand. Or, as Tamiya calls it, sand. Let's try on some of this gunmetal as well. I love how it's piling up over here. Yeah, it's like the difference between sand that has kind of calcified in place versus sand that is fresh from its sitting. Fresh sand or calcified sand. That's how I'm gonna think about it. Oh yeah, now let's get this across the whole thing. The panel lines are a place where the wash has darkened what's on the inside of the line. So it's my job now to highlight that contrast by rubbing the sand right around the outside, like a shading pass. It's also helping blend some of the wash, the edges of the paint where it looks too much like a paintbrush and I didn't get to wipe it off properly. Hiding the crimes. Oh yeah, look at that. Right here. Green, black wash, and then sand. It's very similar to a dry brush effect. Trying to hit the edges. With a dry brush, sometimes you're left in the mercy of the brush you're using, or you see brush marks. The foam pad here, a little smoother with that blend. Gotta make sure it covers all this gunmetal as well. Let's go with some of this mud here. Oh, wow, look at that. You know, oftentimes, and when I say oftentimes, every time I'm working on a model kit, what I'm looking for isn't necessarily the most perfect build at the end of it. I'm not that talented. I don't have that much experience. But what I'm looking for is a little bit of magic. And what I mean by magic is I'm looking for something that's going to surprise me in a good way. And whether that's because I go down a path and I have an idea in my head of how something could look or is supposed to look. But I always reach that point where, like, oh, I don't know if I can get there, or I'm close, maybe 70% of the way there. And then whether it's with a wash, a dry brush pass, weathering pass, or with lighting, something in the way physics affects how paint mixes, how powders fall, how light casts, I'm surprised by it. I'm looking for, that's the magical moment for me in model making. And it becomes too predictable. If what I have in my head is exactly how it ends up, I don't think that's magic. Oh, look at that. Using a brush and just peeling away that weathering powder. Again, here it's motivated by the direction I think the ornithopter would be flying in and where the sand would pile up. Let's go front to back, front to back. You can see in the back it's maybe too even with that foam. Take another look at it. All right, you need some powder. You need to hit the edges with a little more contrast. Oh, look at that. Build up, build up, build up. Oh, liking the brush, liking the brush. All right. Now, I've worked just on this left side here. I'm going to go turn this around so we can take a look and see how this side compares with the unweathered side. There we go. With just a wash. And now with the weathering powder. Wash. Weathering powder. Take a step back. Yeah. All right, let's continue. This is happy making. So if you're looking for a fun, relatively low risk, easy model making project to get started on, you get all this magic and the weathering reveal, I'm gonna recommend this one. Meng Models, 1/72 scale ornithopter. They do have a 1/144th scale one, half the length. Don't want to go as ambitious, but to be honest, this is not a difficult model to build. Highly recommended. Links in the description and comments below. I'm so happy with how this weathering powder is working. Tamiya, you've done it again. Who would have thought? Maybe your thousands of customers over the years. How about you? How you feeling about this? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And there we have it. Oh, wow. For me, a roller coaster of satisfaction. Went into this not knowing exactly how this model would come together. Really happy with the fitment and the quality of the Meng model kits, how easy everything was to assemble. Got the primer coat, got these 2 base coats on, and then maybe feeling a little uncertain about my color choices. But wow, that wash and these Tamiya Weathering Master powders really tied the whole thing together. Not too difficult to use. Ended up using the included tool a little more than I expected. I went back and forth between liking the foam or liking the brush, and my final pass on it, mostly foam. Don't be afraid to press a little hard to get some of those streaks, like in the front here, on the sides there, to make it really look like there's been sand that's been kind of calcified into those spots. Added at Adam's recommendation, just a little spot of black oil wash or black oil paint in the back there. Just give it a little bit more contrast. And I'm gonna call this model done. A Harkonnen Ornithopter, 172 scale model kit. There is an Atreides one as well. Maybe we'll put that together in a future video, maybe add in some lights. But thank you so much for watching. All the materials I use, including the model kits, are linked in the description and comments below. If you have techniques, experience building these model kits, or have thoughts on how you would tackle this paint approach, this kind of sand weathered approach, let me know. I love learning about new materials, love learning about new processes, and hope you had fun watching this one. Until next time, I'm Norm, and see ya.
Thank you guys so much for watching that video. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you we have some excellent merch. We have a 5-pack of demerit badges for sale right now at tested/store.com. We've got the I hung it off of level demerit badge, the I built the chair backwards demerit badge, the I hit my thumb with a hammer demerit badge. We've got the stapler in my finger demerit badge, and my favorite, I stuck the duct tape to itself demerit badge. Get yours now, tested/store. Tested-store. Tested. It's right here. There. Just click there.